Let's go.
This is turning into one of the weirdest shows I've ever done. It really is.
Catch me if you can, goddammit. Catch me if you can. You hear me?
Will Noonan's so funny and I'm after him, so I guess I'm after Noonan.
You're listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. Thank you for listening to Hypothetically with Will Noonan. That's me. What's up with everybody? How are you? It's been a fucking wicked long time. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You probably just heard from the microphone. I got a little bit of a mic issue right now. I was going to record a whole episode yesterday, and then the mic was popping like this, and I was like, fuck. My windscreen is fucked. I need a new windscreen, which is like literally a $5 purchase. But I have so many, and I was like, I'll find one of my spares, and I can't find them. And I know that's a weak fucking excuse, but I want this thing to sound good, and I'm trying not to get pops, but I'm going to get some pops today. I got a fucking sock on this thing that I think is a little bit better than the windscreens I have, but don't you worry. Don't you worry, everybody. The podcast is a-coming. And I really should be putting out more podcasts than ever, or at least once a week. And I'm going to get back to that immediately, starting now. Every Monday we're going to be back, I promise. I know I've said that before, but I'm really going to do it. The thing is, I've gotten so many nice emails from you guys. And it's weird. They all come on the same days. It's like you guys don't know each other, all the listeners, obviously. But it's like you all feel it on the exact same days. Like the past week, there were 2 days, yesterday and like a couple days before yesterday. On those 2 days, I just got like 10 messages a day from people that were like, yo, where's the fucking podcast? You know, shout out to Flat Cat. She said it yesterday on Twitter, and Mike Osborne sent me a Snapchat yesterday. And, yeah, you know, I don't really have a ton of excuses for that. I actually have been kind of busy lately. Things are getting back into the swing of, real work. Summer's wrapping up. Summer's pretty much over. So it's time to get back to the business of doing stand-up and getting booked and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of, getting back to doing dates, which has been great. Been writing a shitload, which has been great. Been getting back to my business, which is, emailing these guys and trying to book out the next 6 months, and getting back hard into that. Helped a couple younger comics out with that. Filmed another German movie. Filmed a short film. Did a couple other podcasts as a guest. And when you add all these things up, it's not really that much work, but it's kind of like when you talk to a guy for an hour or you spend a few hours on a set, the last thing you want to do is break out the old recorder and start, talking to yourself for an hour. But I should. The podcast has been killing it with the ratings lately. The last few episodes have been very highly rated. The interviews with Mike Bain and Zach A were highly rated, so we're going to keep it back. But yeah, it's funny how you guys are worried about me when I don't do an episode for a long time, and I really like that, honestly. In the short term, I dislike it because I'm like, I don't know. It makes you feel bad when someone's like, is everything okay? It just makes you feel like, I don't know, is everything okay? But yeah, everything's fine. Actually, things are better than ever. I've been doing good. I've been having a good time. I just noticed that, I noticed that I need to embrace laziness a little bit. I can't go crazy with it, but I have not been a very lazy guy for about 7 or 8 years. I've been pretty hardworking constantly, and I think maybe that's why I would have the occasional panic attack sometime, or a little, or I'd just go a little squirrely because I was just overworking myself. Not to say there aren't men out there, men and women, who can work much harder than me, put up with much more pressure than me, and deal with it with a lot more aplomb than I do. But I'm just, I gotta figure things out for me, for the Noonabomber. I gotta figure out how things work, and I definitely need to take a day or two off every week. from stressing, which I really am not good about. I'm pretty much a go, go, go type of dude. And this summer, if you're a listener to the podcast, you know I made a concerted effort to actually have some downtime. And I think it was good for me. And I think I'm going to have to keep it going a little bit into the future, but not too much downtime, like 3 weeks of no podcast. Because this podcast really is my favorite thing to do. Podcasting, radio, just shooting the shit is so fun. It's my favorite part about being a comic. But, yeah. I've just been out there doing a lot of shows, a lot of open mics. I've been out on stage pretty much every night, filming a lot of the days, and also getting back to business. But you guys don't have to worry about me. Things are good. And then I'm like, but I get it. I actually have done the same thing. Bert Kreischer has gone a long time without putting out a podcast. Greg Fitzsimmons has gone a while without putting on a podcast. And both those guys, I'm like, geez, I hope someone didn't die, or I hope there wasn't some sort of accident, or I hope they're not going through some mental health issue or something like that. So I can't be like pissed about it when people think the same thing of me. But and then you assume like they look at everything. I'm like, dude, why are you asking me if I'm okay? You see my Instagram? It's fun. I'm having fun. But I get it. You guys worry about me. You worry about the kid, and I appreciate it. And but here we are. We're back. It's whatever date it is today is Hurricane Irma Day. Hurricane Irma coming down on Florida right now as we speak, or as I speak and you listen. But it's like we're speaking to each other. Hurricane Irma fucking up Florida right now. At this moment in time, currently, it's covering about the entire state of Florida. I don't think there's one safe fucking spot in Florida right now. Fucking even Cinderella is fucked right now. Cinderella's up in her tower, like, you know, just wishing she could be Sleeping Beauty today and maybe nap through this horrible pain and terror of a natural disaster. But she's not Sleeping Beauty. She's Cinderella, which is fucking awesome all the rest of the time. But on Hurricane Day, you got nothing but a prince and some glass shoes. Who needs glass shoes in a fucking hurricane? So you can see the filth collecting in your feet? That's not good. Stupid bit, but we're warming up. We're getting back. We're doing Cinderella jokes. Hey, is Pinocchio down there in the floods too? You better tell a lie and use his nose to measure how deep the floodwaters are. Okay. Hey, we're getting back. We're getting back to jokey jokes. Jokey time. But yeah, man, I've been, you know, I'm kind of one of those people who complains about the media coverage of snowstorms up here. I'm like, it's too much fucking snow coverage. Who gives a shit? All these fucking weatherman, we get it. It's snowing. Why are they hassling us? But then I think, you know what? I love watching this shit when it's happening someplace else. So maybe they're not doing it for us. Maybe they're just doing it for the rest of the country because, you know, obviously I don't want anyone to get hurt or anyone to get killed or even, you know, fucking their life ruined by having their house get destroyed or anything like that. I don't want any of those things to happen, of course, and I'm not watching these reports to try and see that, but holy shit, this footage of this hurricane is fucking riveting, right? I mean, I can't take my eyes off it. I've been watching the live streams on YouTube like for days just to get a good base. I'm like, all right, here's what Key West looks like normally. Here's what Key West looks like the day before a hurricane. And I probably had about, I don't know, 8 or 9 channels on my YouTube subscriptions that I'm flipping back and forth between. And as of right now, only like 3 of them are still on. The rest of them have been destroyed. That's pretty fucking scary when you're watching like a live feed of a hurricane and then it just goes like I was watching live streams last night and it was like a movie when the security guy realizes whoever broke into the building is getting the better of you and killing all your security cameras. I'm like looking at this Facebook feed with like 9 different cameras that it's cycling through, and it's got 4 on the screen at a time, and it's cycling through, and like over the course of 45 minutes you could just see like one by one, they'd break and just go to either the color bar or just not responding. And then there was just a few left, and even the few that were left, like, you couldn't see shit because it was just covered in water and getting blown with that wind. So it's fucking serious down there. And I just visited my parents, just spent some time with old mom, like I do every Sunday. And we were watching ABC for like a couple hours. And like I said, normally I just hate this shit when it's happening to Boston and it's the snow. But interesting stuff out there. You know I hate the fucking news if you listen to this podcast. I hate newscasters most of the time. I hate the things they report about most of the time, but I'm into this because it's not ISIS. It's not Trump. There's no politics involved in just a terrible storm. It's just nature being nature and us dealing with it as best we can. But I love to try and witness a little bit of nature's fury. You know what I'm saying? Like, I watch those YouTube videos of like the tsunami sometimes. I like an earthquake. I like all that shit. I don't want any of it to happen, ever. But when it does, I hope people are getting their cameras out and videotaping it because that shit is cool. But watching the ABC coverage was really good. But I gotta say, like, these fucking newscasters and their goddamn just attitudes about being outside and getting that shot of the fucking person in the wind. It's like, we understand that, man. You only really need one of those guys. You don't need like 8 people spread across the state. And also, they're shitting all over these people. They're like, who don't evacuate. They're like, there's some people out here, Jim. I don't know why they ignore the mandatory evacuation, but remember, if you're watching this, stay in your homes right now. Do not come out here like I am doing right now as I speak these words and come look at all this cool, amazing shit that only comes around once every 10 years. Don't come out here and witness with your eyes this amazing natural phenomenon known as a hurricane like I'm doing. Just let us news people who also don't have protection or cops or ambulances, just let us come out here and stand in it and not get killed and show it to you, but don't come out yourself. Don't you do it. You stay back. So that always seems kind of contradictory to me. And also, I just drove by the Boston Police Commissioner and his wife walking down the street in Southie. Just the kind of thing. He's not worried about a hurricane. That guy, Mousy, he ain't worried about that shit. That was his nickname because my mom went to high school with him. Ed something is his real name. I've done comedy for him and I bombed. It's a little stream of consciousness podcasting there. But yeah, he's got the day off today, and he ain't sweating no fucking hurricanes. But yeah, we've had some bad hurricanes up here in Massachusetts. When I was a kid, we had Hurricane Bob, which was really bad. When you live like inland, even a mile in Massachusetts, you don't really have to worry about hurricanes too much. They'll take down trees, and they'll cause a little bit of damage by taking down trees, but you won't. Your house won't get blown away, or you won't get fucking flooded out too much in Boston if you're about a mile away from the ocean. But Hurricane Bob, like, it tears the Cape up, fucking rips roofs off of places. But I remember when I was a kid, I'm a big woods guy, like hanging out in the woods, going hiking. And I remember after Hurricane Bob, you could barely recognize the woods after the hurricane. It just changed everything. Changed the way everything looked, changed the way the fucking topography was. It was crazy. I just got a text. I don't know from who, and I'm not going to check it until this is over. But yeah, man. These hurricanes are great. Great television. Feeling for the people down there, though. It looks real bad. Looks really bad down there. Oh, I'm about to get hit by a car from New York City. Yeah, it just looks. Even NPR, and they're kind of the level-headed ones in the news biz, in the media biz, and even NPR was like, "Get the fuck out of there." hit the fucking road. Florida's not the place for you or anyone. It's gonna get fucking destroyed. And that was pretty much, it's pretty much the narrative everyone's going with right now. And I don't blame them. I'm looking for parking right now in South Boston. This is kind of this is my life now. And I'm living in Southie full time. It's, every day is a parking adventure. Sometimes I find a parking spot in 2 minutes. Other times, 45 minutes. The longest I think I've looked yet is 45 minutes, which isn't so fucking bad. But believe me, when you don't know how long it's going to be and you look for 45 minutes, you're like, how fucking long is this going to take? How much goddamn longer? Am I ever going to find parking? But, yeah, that's sort of the only downside about living in Southie. It's the parking situation. I'll probably get a spot one day when someone I know sells me one. But until then, I must look for parking like a filthy casual. And I don't know. It is what it is. I also think one of the guys from ABC might die today. Has a weather person like ever actually just died out there, like getting the shot, standing in the fucking in the wind, and then like a huge chunk of tree just comes off and either stabs him through the chest or hits him in the head and knocks him down? Because it seems likely. These guys were, I'll actually give them some bravery points today. Usually it's a little bit of bullshit. Like, they're like, look at that behind me. That's fucking 4,000 miles of water. And you're like, no, it's not. It's just a little bit of water. You're exaggerating. Fuck. And other times, they actually earn it. And I think that's what they're doing. Right now, with this particular hurricane, seems like it's actually pretty dangerous down there. And a few of these guys could get killed. Irma and Harvey. They're not doing anything for the Jews down there in Florida by giving these hurricanes old Jewish people names. Because, the South, not the most Jew-friendly place in the country. South of the Mexican-Dixon line, they don't think of as Jews as whites. Some of them, not even as human beings. So watch out. And then you go naming hurricanes Harvey and Irma. Sounds like you're choosing between accountants. Harvey's pretty good, but Irma's an earner. I like Irma. She earns me money. Harvey, he counts good. He knows good things about the money. I like it. But Irma, bring her in. I like her. I like the things she does. I like the way she works on my money. This is a tough decision, but I'm going with Irma. Kind of lost the impression there at the end, but you get it. You get it. Is that racist? I was really just doing Larry David anyway. I can't help it. Is it racist? I try. I'm doing an impression of what I think a Jewish man sounds like. I've known many. I've had landlords that talk like this. Will, pay your rent. I don't know what the problem is. I see you working. I know you work. I see you come home. I see you go out, and you had no money. Are you the only bartender in New York City who's not picking up a check? I don't think this is true. I'm sorry. I'll get it. I just, I smoke a lot of weed, and it's like $80 a bag. And smoking weed, this is the thing I tell you. This is why I don't let you go out with my daughter, Rachel. She's a pretty girl. You're a pretty guy. You guys could do well. Despite the fact that you're an Irishman and probably drink, I think this will be fine for you. But no. Now he's becoming like a Middle Eastern salesman. Let me see if I can put you in this car today. Alright. Oh boy. So this is what happens when you don't podcast for a few weeks. All you got is a bad Jewish impression followed by an even worse Arab impression. I did see this thing on YouTube that made me laugh. This fucking guy was he was just trying to have like a Twitch broadcast. He was trying to just be an earnest gentleman and do this thing where he was asking for suggestions that he could mail in to GTA 5, to update GTA 5. which he didn't work for in an official capacity or anything like that. He was just asking. And then he would send it in, like, on behalf. He's like, instead of us all just writing in letters, why don't we, one by one, tell me, I'll compile your suggestions for this video game that's been out for, like, fucking 8 years. And we'll send it in. And it was a stupid idea, but the people on 4chan got a hold of it. He was taking phone calls. And they got a hold of this guy. And they kept calling him and hassling him. And the guy, I don't know what his problem was. He had this voice that, like, so many fucking nerds have. And I like nerds. And I don't really think I'm a nerd. I don't think I have the interest, but I don't have the, socially I'm not a nerd. My interests can be considered nerdy. But, I mean, I think they're just considered, guy who was born in the 80s. Interests. I like comic books. I like movies. I like fucking, music. Some of those things could get a little nerdy, I guess, but I also like sports and going on dates and exercise, which aren't nerdy. So, fuck if I know if I'm a nerd or not, but I wouldn't consider myself one, and I don't want to be one. But I do like them. I like nerdy guys. A lot of my friends are nerds. I like watching nerdy dudes' YouTube channels. But some of them are just as bad as any basic ass biddy out there, just with the way they're sheep and they sound like everyone and they all sound the same and talk the same. But this guy was on there, he's like, could you write me in if you have a suggestion for GTA 5? And I'll send it in, so we'll all get our suggestions together, and then if you have any ideas for GTA 5, I'll send it in. So just call in with your suggestion to GTA 5, and it's going to be a good time. So then people started calling up, and they just kept saying, like, every single person was like, yeah, I think they should add, like, a couple, like a thing where you could fly a plane to the Twin Towers. Which is not funny. 9/11 is not funny. I was there in Manhattan. Not, I was 3 miles away, but I was in New York City. Not funny. But fucking with this guy was funny. And he was an idiot. He kept going like, guys, 9/11 is not a funny thing to make fun of. Okay, like 3 million people died in 9/11. So I'm just here to talk about GTA 5. I'm not here to talk about 9/11. And everyone's like, and first of all, it's 3,000 people, not 3 million. Not to take anything away from the people at GTA 5. I mean, GTA 5. Not to take away from the tragedy of GTA 5, but it was actually 3,000 people, not 3 million. But, he, fucking A, is there a parking spot or what? Alright, here we go. I got one finally. Hold on. Parking the fucking car. Parking. Parallel parking. Parking. Up. Parking. Parallel parking. Oh, shit. I did not do a good job. Wanted to get this in one for the podcast. Up, come on. When I park, sometimes it sounds like having sex while having diarrhea. Here we go. I'm parked. Wasn't too bad of a parallel park, but wasn't the best in my career either. GTA 5. So people kept calling this guy up and giving them like different ways to they'd fuck with him. I love a good prank call. That's really what it was. You don't see many good prank calls anymore because it's like basically illegal to prank call somebody unless they put themselves out there by giving their number out like in a 1-800 number type form. Then you can prank them all you want. So that's what these guys were doing. And this guy just kept going like, okay, I'm really sick of the prank callers, so if you could just, like, really call in, and then so guys would have to call in, they'd be like, I really have a suggestion, I'm not a prank caller, and he'd be like, okay, please tell me your suggestion for GTA 5, and then the guys would be like, all right, don't cut me off, but like, all right, here's the deal. I think there should be an add-on bonus where you can get a plane and fly it into the Twin Towers. And the guy just fell for it like fucking 50 times. And then they started going like, they kept saying, people kept asking him to add aloha armbar. Because with his accent, he'd say aloha armbar. It sounded like he was saying Alu Akbar. I love that kind of pettiness. I love that kind of petty fucking bullshit. So anyway, what's been going on since the last episode? What has been happening? Some interesting stuff as far as comedy goes. Had some great shows at Laugh Boston with Lamont and Lamont Price, Kelly McFarland. We did some like and Peter Martin. We did some like best of Boston shows. Those are super fun. Had a crazy heckler at one of those who yelled out. I'll get that audio for you guys. It was pretty funny. She goes, I go up there, and I think it was Saturday night. So no, it was Friday night. It was first show. So I go up there, and I'm doing my shit, just doing my jokes, and I did notice her like pretty quickly. She was in the front row, and I'm like, man, like just talking to just doing my act, but I'm like looking at her out of the corner of my eye, and I'm like, this chick is shit-faced. Like, I can fucking really tell she is smashed right now. And, she was just, like, moving around a lot. She couldn't sit still. She had that, like, half-open, half-closed eyes, like, fucking moving like she's in water, even though she's just sitting in a chair. She's got this guy sitting next to her who's pretty drunk himself, but not as drunk as her, but she's just out of it, fucking wasted. I mean, if you've ever been to a comedy show, you should know that. Like, we can see you guys. Well, actually, not all the time. In a theater, you're pretty much unseen. We can't see you. There's a lot of lights on the guy. If you look up above the comedian, there's like 1,000 lights and a spotlight on him. He probably can't see you. But if you're in like a comedy club atmosphere, chances are the comedian can see you. So if you text, he sees you. And it's not like we're like, oh, fuck you, you're texting, you're not paying attention to me. For me, that's not what the problem is. It's just kind of like you see them texting and while you're telling a joke and you go, oh, well, there's one person who's kind of bored right now. And that's really like a live fucking note from the crowd you don't really need while you're in the middle of it. You can tell me after that you didn't enjoy it if you want, or just keep it to yourself. But seeing someone look at their phone, it's just like more shit for your brain during a moment where your brain needs to be focused on other things. But we pick up a lot of stuff. I pick up a lot of stuff as a comedian from the stage. Even, for every heckler or drunk person a comedian might talk to, he might see, 7 or 8 or 9 things that he doesn't talk about, but are still have to pass through your fucking brain in between. What am I saying right now? What will I be saying next? So it can be a little bit of math for us, and I think that's why some guys fucking really freak out. But I really, as a former drunk and as someone who, has made a fool out of myself in public a few times, I don't really get aggressive with these people. I really don't judge anyone. If someone's becoming such a fucking problem that they're like ruining the show for the rest of the crowd, I usually don't have to do anything, because at that point it's going to take care of itself, because it's just so obvious to everyone that the security is going to take him out. And that's exactly what happened this night, although I did make like a little crack like about, I think this is why we have security. But I have the audio. It's not so great. I don't know if I'm going to have time. I want to get this episode out as quickly as possible, so I might throw it in next week's episode. But basically, I'm doing my closing bit, and so she made it most of the way through the set. And I won't, fair's fair. I do have some responsibility in this, because I did, like, she yelled something out, and I did say, like, wow. Like, I did talk to her for a couple seconds in the middle and, like, joked with her a little bit. And then at the end, she felt like it was okay to just start talking to me. So I feel like, it's not 100% on her. I opened the door myself by talking to her a little bit. But come on, that's such as my right as a comedian. But yeah, so she was it's hard to even explain what kind of heckling. This is the worst kind of heckling, when you're like, because I was like, oh, hey, like, where you from? And she was like, Harvard. And I was like, is that real? I can't tell if you're telling the truth. I was like, is this your boyfriend? She was like, whatever. Like, she wasn't giving me yes or no's or, like, weird things or, anyway, so I start telling my joke, and she just starts going like, like, that's all she's doing, which is not even really a heckle. It's just like a distraction. So I stop, and I'm like, hello, what are you doing right now? And then it's quiet, and she just goes, "Oh, fuck you." And that was the moment I saw the security had been kind of slowly sort of coming closer to her, like, during this whole exchange. And then when she said, "I'll fuck you," it was like the three of them, like, silently were like, and let's kick her out. So then at that second, they all not jumped in, but they got her to leave. And I heard the boyfriend on the way out was like, why you always do this? Why you always gotta do this? So she's a repeat offender in the going to comedy shows drunk department. But I had that one. I had a few weird. And then I had like an epic kind of bomb, which sort of, like, I feel like got blown out of proportion by myself. So I do a show at McGreevy's, and I'm Luke Tuma and Brian Higginbottom, Dylan Krasinski, RDP. They run shows all over Boston. McGreevy's is one of the rooms they run. And they give me spots. So when I do it, I mean, I literally do spots that these guys are nice enough to give me, and I thank them for that. Anjan, too. Ian Barton. There's like a group of dudes that run a lot of good, like, of the smaller, unpaid rooms here in the city, but they're great times, and they're great places to go work out, newish material, new material, old material, just work on your skills. They're great, and they're super nice about giving me stage time, and I love those guys. So I go down to McGreevy's like a week ago, and I'm about to go on stage, and it's packed. Like, that place, it gets really crowded anyway, even when there's just like 50 people in there. But the room holds, I think the room comfortably holds about 50 people, and they had like something like 90 in this room. It was so packed. It was so hot. You could feel the body heat coming off the crowd on stage even, and it was like just really, really hot. But I was like, whatever, I don't really care about that. I don't like a crowded room, to be honest. It makes me sort of like claustrophobic in a weird way. I don't really like being in the middle. I don't mind performing for huge crowds, but I don't like being in them. Something weird about it. But I was like, whatever, I'm up early, I won't be here all night. But what my thought was, I was like, damn, I come to this room, I come to McGreevy's to do some new shit, work on some new material, but now this room is like so packed. There's so many fucking people in here that how am I gonna, how am I gonna do this, like, new shit in front of all these people? I should just do the shit I know kills. And I was kind of having this dilemma where I'm like, we got a full house here. Should I put on some A-game, or should I stick to what I came here to do and do these new jokes? And Luke Tuma's girlfriend, who is a model and a very good-looking woman, which is probably why I listened to her. She's like 10 years younger than me and a model, but I was like, let's find out. I've been doing comedy forever, and you're a model, but let me take your ideas on comedy and do them. But she says to me, I'm like talking about that to her or Luke. I said, like, yeah, I always want to do new shit here, but sometimes when it's this packed, I was like, I just want to do stuff I know works. And Tuma's girlfriend's like, just do the new stuff. Like, if that's what you came here to do, like, take the risk and do it. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you know what? You're right. So host goes up there, doesn't do so hot. I go up second, and so right before I'm about to go on stage, I'm like in the most open part of the room I can find, which is the stairwell, which is still packed as shit. And even getting to the stage took like too much time because it was just too crowded. So I see this two guys coming down the stairs to try and go to the show. One of them's kind of like a heavy set guy, and he looks at this room full of people all packed and shit, and he's like, "Oh, I can't fucking go down there. I'm a fat guy. I'm too fat." And his friend was like, "Come on, buddy." And he's like, "Dude." And your buddy was like, "Yeah, you're right." And then they just kind of laughed and smacked each other in the back and left. Went to go someplace else, right? And that was like literally the last thing I saw about 15 seconds before I go on stage. And so like I often do in these situations when something kind of funny happens right before I go on stage and I tell the story. First thing out of my mouth is like, "Wow, it's crowded in here. It's so crowded. I just saw a guy talk about how he was too fat to come down here." And I just said, "Oh, he came down the stairs. He looked at this room and he's like, I'm too fucking fat to go in there." And this fucking audience hated me so much for saying that. You would have thought I went up there and I was like, "I just saw this fat fucking cunt. I think she was half a gook." It was a guy I was making fun of. I wasn't even really making fun of him. I was just relaying the story. But you would have thought I went up there and I was just like, "Cunt, cunt, 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 cunt. N-word, N-word, cunt, N-word. I voted for Trump 1,000 times. Cunt, cunt, N-word." Because they just all hated me like I had just said that. And from the get-go. And they're only like 8 minutes, 9 minutes sets. So I was like, well, this is not good. So then I was like, well, that failed horribly, that little bit of crowd work I tried to do. But I was like, whatever. I still got some new jokes here to do. This is the perfect time to do them when the crowd already dislikes me. So then I tell all my new jokes for like 7 minutes, which just bomb, really badly. I mean, here's the thing, though, to be honest. I mean, I don't bomb as hard as I used to bomb, even when I bomb. I can still get some laughs. So like for everyone watching, it's probably like doesn't look like a guy completely tanking, but it was definitely like the worst. It was like the worst set I'd probably had in a year and a half, or one of the worst like bombings I've had at like in front of a crowd like that in like a year and a half. So after it's over, it was so crowded that I went like behind the bartender and cut behind her to get back to the back of the room. And it actually kind of felt good. Like bombing that hard kind of feels good once in a while. You definitely don't want to be doing it every night. You definitely don't want to be make it a habit. But like sometimes it's good for you. Sometimes it's like, fuck, I need to write some new shit, or I need to like work a little bit harder, or look, I made a rookie mistake at the beginning by mentioning that thing about the fat guy and not really thinking it through, and it just keeps you on your game, keeps you sharp. So I was feeling that vibe as I left the building, and I tweeted like, man, stand-up comedy does not give a fuck how long you've been doing it. No, sorry. Stand-up comedy does not give a shit how long you've been doing it. She will fuck you up anyway. I just bombed, and it was awesome, or something like that. Or no, I said, fuck, sorry guys. I'm quoting myself, and I'm doing a terrible job doing it. Douche to the second power. But what I said was, just ate some dicks tonight. Comedy doesn't care how long you've been doing it. She will fuck you up, and that is awesome. Right? Honestly, I was kind of ashamed to even hit send on that tweet, because I was like, this isn't really funny. This is like vaguely like inspirational, which is not the way I really like to go too often on Twitter. And I'm like, this is just kind of lame and makes me seem like I'm looking for sympathy or something. And I just kind of was like, I don't know. But then again, I was at the same time, I was like, if there's some guy out there who's been doing it 2 or 3 years and he's bombing tonight and he thinks funny comedians don't bomb, maybe he'll read it. find some solidarity or something. Or maybe people just think it's funny. I don't fucking know. Sometimes you just throw this shit out. But I did feel like it was kind of personal and like too soft to be like a good tweet, right? So then I get in my car and I drive back to the apartment, which takes like 10, 15 minutes. And when I open my phone, the tweet has kind of blown up somewhat. Sherrod Small liked it. Like it had like 35 likes, about like 15, 20 retweets in just a few minutes. And I'm like, damn, this tweet's like catching on with people. So then the next morning I get a call from like one of the biggest radio stations here in Boston, the AMP, 103.3 The AMP, one of the bigger morning shows, the TJ and Lauren, TJ in the Morning with Lauren. They want to call me and do a morning interview about me bombing. And I'm like, okay. They were like, oh, we saw your tweet, man. We want to fucking talk about it on the phone. And I'm like, okay. And in my head, I'm like, man, this thing's taking on a life of its own. This tweet has gone around. A lot of people have seen it now. And now I'm going to do a radio interview about it. So I fucked up. For some reason, I thought we were doing it at 9:45, but we were really doing it at 9. And I set my alarm for 9 to wake up, have a cup of coffee, and then do this interview. And I wake up, and it's like my phone's ringing. They're like, where are you? We've been calling you. What's going on? And I'm like, oh, let's go. Just acting like everything's normal. And I was kind of out of it. Which I was thinking probably did not come off. My phone wasn't working. It was kind of a fucking disaster. But I call in anyway, and they had made this like super funny thing where they were like, there's a comedian named Will Noonan, and he bombed or whatever. But then they were kind of like, Will, we hope you keep doing it and stuff like that. And I didn't really like that part. I was like, the narrative was kind of like, we feel sorry for Will, and we want him to keep being a comedian because he's funny. And I'm like, the whole point of the tweet was, like, everybody bombs, and that's the beauty of stand-up comedy. Like, anyone can bomb any night. That's what's so great about it. And anyone can kill any night. That's what's so great about it. But I understand morning radio shows, and they need to do what they need to do to get laughs. So, like, Will, don't be too serious about morning radio. But, sort of annoyed me slightly. Yeah. But it's probably because I had just woken up. But, yeah, that was sort of some interesting shit that went down there with my alleged bombing. I felt bad. I felt like a girl who had like said she'd been raped, and then like the more cops asked me about it, I was like, well, I mean, rape, right? Do we really need to get you guys involved in this? I mean, I was like, not really into it, and like, but I don't think we need to press charges. So I'm sorry I said anything. Like, this got a little out of my control. Really pissing off everyone today with the Jewish impression, the Muslim impression, and now also saying that a lot of rape inquiries. Oh my God, that inquiries. What inquiries? My name's Elmer Fudd, and I am now working in the wape inquiry business. If you have a wape that has not been inquired, I will inquire your wape for you. Imagine being Elmer Fudd's daughter and trying to tell him that you've been raped, and he's getting upset, and you can't stop laughing. Are you telling me that boy raped you? Oh my God. My own daughter raped by my friend. And you're like, Dad, I'm sorry, this is the worst day of my life, but you keep saying wape, and I can't stop laughing. We need to go to the Wape Crisis Center. Quick, you need some blood sugar. Eat these grapes. Eat these Concord grapes. Have a French grape. But please, we need to see a counselor about this wape. We need to get you a wape kit. Oh my God. I'm stupid. I also filmed. Oh, don't worry. On the way there, we'll listen to Wape, Don't Tell Me. This is so stupid. Fuck. I also did another German movie. I've done a couple, as you know. as you all know, as everyone knows. I'm a German film star. And also comedian. But I've never raped I've never raped a soul. But yeah, working with the Germans was interesting. I was working with them on the day of the supposed Nazi rally in Boston, which did not turn out to be a Nazi rally at all. But it was sort of people protested and got a big deal about it because there was a true Nazi rally in Charlottesville a week before. I'm having trouble losing this Elmer Fudd. I'm like, a week before. Oh, a week before. Wascowee Wabbit. Wapist. But yeah, man. So the day I was filming with the Germans was the same day that there was supposed to be a Nazi rally. So interesting circumstances for me to be hanging out with a film crew of about 100 Germans. The Germans. And while Nazis are being discussed in the national media, it was pretty interesting. They did not want to talk about it. They wanted to just make the movie, but it was interesting. It was also my first time working with a female director. Actually, not my first time, but I've worked with a couple female commercial directors. So this is my first time, like, as a working actor, really working with a woman who's a film director. Not since acting school have I been directed by a lady, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Fraka was her name. Fraka. I couldn't even fucking make an attempt at her last name, but her first name was Fraka, and I would call her Waka Fraka Flame. And I don't think she got it. I don't think she got the joke at all, but I found it pretty funny. But really enjoyed it. That'll be coming out soon. I put up some photos on Instagram. You may have seen me with all the man, they put a lot of makeup on me. I'm so white. Like, I look like Conan. Like, I'm probably the same color as Conan. Maybe even a little more tan than Conan. Not to brag. I might be a fucking shade or two darker than Conan, but they still put on, like, when you put regular people makeup on my face, I look like a fucking clown. So they put a ton on me, but it does look good on film. But it's interesting how much shit you gotta rub on my face just to make me look like a healthy male on film. But that was a good time, and looking forward to that coming out. And I've said it before, I've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it again. But the Germans know what they're doing with the film. They're amazing. They know how to work. They know how to work quickly and efficiently and still get great shots and make good movies. And I really admire them for that. And I wish people would pick it up a little bit over here. I still think about that fucking bad commercial that I did where I was in that costume. I know I've talked about it ad nauseum. I've really waped your ears talking about it, but it really was, like, that was really one of the worst days of my life, and I was in New York on 9/11, as mentioned earlier, because I was just working with dickheads. You knew something was going wrong all day long. You knew no one had control of this ship, and then the fact that the commercial never actually came out and aired because they fucked something up. I'm pretty sure we made a commercial that had already been made. That's the best I can figure out from, like, because when you're an actor, once you're done with something, once you're off the set, like, you're done. It's no comunicado. They're not going to tell you what's going on with the project anymore. You have to figure out things yourself. I guess I could call and ask, but I really never want to speak to anyone over there ever again. But you do a commercial, it usually comes out within 2, 3, 4 months, 5 months of you doing it. And I knew they spent a lot of money on this, and it had, without giving too much away, because I can't, because I signed some shit, but it was for, certain dates, like certain holidays, we filmed some stuff for, and those have already come and gone. So I know the commercial has not been aired. Also, I get paid more when it's aired, and I have not received that money. So I know it's just not on. and I've heard the guy doing other commercials. So I'm like, what the fuck is up with that? I'm pretty sure they just didn't fucking Google the idea and make sure someone else hadn't done it, and they found out after the fact. So not only was that like one of the worst days of my life, and really took like a huge chunk of my enthusiasm for commercial acting with it. So not only was it that, but then it didn't even fucking air. So it was all like just a waste of time. And I think, honestly, on some level, I smelled something like that going on, because I just, all day, there was just this air of fucking up just in the air. It was like you could just smell the fuck-ups. You could smell that this crew of people did not know what was going on, and everyone was just easy breezy like Sunday morning, and no one was like really watching what was happening and what was really going on. There's no producers. They were there, but they weren't fucking doing anything. The director was a total jackass. So that's what you get, and I'm sure they wasted a lot of fucking money. And I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they did, but yeah, still think about that. It took a lot of the fun. I have slight commercial actor PTSD, to sound like the biggest pussy of all time. But now when I book a commercial, and I've done a few since then, I don't look forward to them as much as I used to, because now I've had a bad enough experience where I'm always like, I hope it's not like that. I hope it's not like that. But I'll tell you, working with these Germans will bring you right back the other way. It fills your tank up again, because the Germans are great to work with, and it's just a fun time shooting with them. And also, like in these German movies, although I will later be dubbed and my voice won't even be in it, it is some of the most real acting that I get to do. I get to actually be in scenes with other actors and act, a script. We're not trying to sell a product. We're just trying to portray a script that has been written as true and videotape it, or fucking digitally tape it and put it out as a show. And it's a lot more fun to do that kind of acting than it is to do commercial acting. So I really enjoy it. I really enjoy working with other actors. And I think if I could ever get back into like real acting like that, I would probably enjoy it a lot more. But the commercial stuff is just for the money, I guess. But yeah, I've started to think a lot more about which auditions I go on and stuff like that, because I'm like, you know what, if this is just going to be a complete clusterfuck, or if it's with this company or that company, maybe I don't even want to fucking bother. I'll just do a couple more stand-up dates. That's really the beauty about being a stand-up comedian, man, is that you can go make your own money as a stand-up if you get completely fed up with the acting world. When you're just an actor, you really have to take the shit. Like if I was just an actor, I could never, tell the casting director like I never want to work with those people again, because I'd have no choice. I can't cut anyone out. But right now I'm like, you know what? I don't even care how many fucking commercials they do. They can go fuck themselves until they go out of business, which I imagine won't be much longer. All right. Wrapping up, we got about 7 minutes left. There's a few things I wanted to touch upon. Congrats to Anthony Cumia, my friend Anthony. He's got a new partner, a new co-host, and he is the great fucking Artie Lang, one of the fucking funniest men to ever walk the planet. And the planet. Jesus, fucking Elmer. Stay out of my mouth. He is one of the funniest fucking guys ever. Him and Anthony, honest to God, two guys that I really, really wanted to do some radio with in my life. It was like bucket list shit. I really want to do some radio with Anthony Cumia. I really want to do some radio with Artie Lang. Wanted to do Artie's podcast for a long time. And now him and Cumia are together. I will be down there with them September 19th to do the AA show with Anthony and Artie, and I am looking forward to it in a big way. Never worked with Artie Lang before, never met him. I know a lot of people who know him real well. I know his openers, some of his openers and some of his friends. I've heard nothing but great things, but for me, as a fan of this shit, and now someone who does it, to even be sitting at a table with Cumia and Lang doing fucking radio is a dream come true. I'm going to feel like a Make-A-Wish kid that day. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's a great move for the network. I resubscribed to the Compound Media Network, and I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really excited that they're together, and I'm really looking forward to meeting Artie Lang and just doing some radio with him. So that's going to be cool. Give it up for Artie and Anthony, and check out that show if you haven't checked it out yet. If you weren't into Kumia's old show, maybe you're into this. If you were into Kumia's old show, I think you'll love this new show. The Solar Eclipse was a total fucking jerk off around here in Boston. Nothing really happened. Everyone was afraid of looking at the sky, which really got me thinking about eclipses. I'm like, I've caught the sun in my eyes many times in my life, driving and running and playing sports. How about every time a baseball player loses a fly ball in the sun, is he fucking going blind? But all of a sudden, when the eclipse comes around, everyone's like, well, you better fucking, better look at the ground all day, buddy, because you're going to go blind. You glance at the fucking sun. Of course, I didn't believe it, but of course, I didn't look at the fucking sun either. I'm not an idiot. I did think there was some good old-fashioned modern American scare tactics going on that day. And also, here in Boston, bidding farewell to Isaiah Thomas, our beloved point guard on the Boston Celtics. This is a touchy subject here around the city. A lot of people have different opinions. Here's mine. Love Kyrie Irving as a player. Happy he's on the team. But me and my buddy Paul, my good friend Paul, and we agree on most things most of the time, but we disagree on this one. I don't think it's a huge improvement to the squad. I think it's an improvement, but I think if you look at it in like video game numbers, we traded like an 86 for like rating 86 for like a rating 89, 90, 91, which is a big step up, but it's not gonna like fucking, rock your whole world into place. But that's assuming Isaiah plays the same type of ball he's played last year. Again, this year, which he might not. But you never can say that about any player. We don't know if Kyrie Irving's looking to just kind of like live out his twilight years here in Boston. We don't know anything about these guys. But I think trading a point guard for a point guard is sort of counterintuitive. I've said it a million times on this podcast. You never want the star of your team to be the point guard, unless he's Steph Curry, I guess, because I just think size matters in basketball, and scoring, you're going to need to consistently score a lot. You need to be a little bit bigger, small forward, all the way up to center. I think Kevin Garnett, the reason we were so dominant, even an old Kevin Garnett is so much better than, a fucking phenomenal point guard. I always point to the career of Allen Iverson as an example of how point guard dominated teams don't win championships, but that's just me. But more importantly, Isaiah wrote kind of an ex-girlfriendy letter in the Players Tribune about how he felt and how he got the phone call and how he feels a little bit betrayed. And I don't blame him there. I will say the softy in me, the emotional basketball fan, feels like he must feel a little bit betrayed. You know what I mean? Because he played through his sister's death. He pretty much carried the team all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals. As our star player, he got us there throughout the season and throughout the year. And I could see why you would be like, wow, you're really going to fucking trade me. But at the same time, that's sports. Danny Ainge has to make the decision as, will this guy continue to improve, or has he had his best year and anything in the future is not going to be as good? So I don't fucking know who's right, but, there's no loyalty in this shit anymore, and there's no teams just don't do that anymore because they see what happens. A lot of teams have tanked by keeping aging superstars. Not that that's what Isaiah is, but he's got some injury problems and all that stuff. But I do think it's sad when a guy who loves the city, really tries to do a lot of stuff with the local charities, has his kids in school here, and his kids really are used to living here. It kind of sucks to take your franchise player and the guy who's on all the posters and the guy whose jersey you sell the most and trade him for a bigger name and physically, literally a bigger guy, but not much bigger, not big enough if you ask me. But everyone likes to say Kyrie put up like 25 points a game with LeBron James. Imagine how many he'll put up without him. But you can't really predict that stuff. I would have traded Horford. People who don't care about sports have been really bored for a few minutes, but you know what? It brought us right into the end of the podcast, so I don't give a fuck. So thanks for bearing with me during the little break. I'm going to do better for you guys. I will be here once a week. There's no reason why I shouldn't with the way things are set up now. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. I enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed this time we had together. And I have a show tonight, a corporate gig that I'm a little nervous about, but now I'm barely nervous at all because you know what? Corporates can be brutal, but I already had a good time talking to y'all for an hour. And we found a new bit to do, which is Elmer Fudd talking about WAPE. WAPE is a serious problem on college campuses across America. Oh boy, I'm gonna get emails. All right, guys. Peace and love to the people in Florida. I hope anyone who listens down there in Florida, I know I got a lot of people down there. I hope everything turns out all good for you guys. It's going on right now, so my well wishes don't mean shit until you hear this. But I hope everything turns out all right. Send me your pics. I love seeing homemade fucking pics of what's going on down there. Tweet me. Instagram me. I'm on Twitter at Will Noonan. Instagram, Will Noonan the Comedian. You can always send me stuff. willnoonandcomedy@gmail.com or just go to my website, willnoonan.com. Click the contact form there. There's t-shirts, CDs, all that stuff. And we are back. Summer's over. Comedy is back, and we are going to rip it up for the next few months. So thank you guys for listening. And remember, if no one told you they love you today, I do. Peace out, Wapist. Test. Testing 1, 2, 3. 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 Let's go. 3, 2, 1.